Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. فقد قال تبارك وتعالى في كلامه المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we've discussed previously in part 1 with regards to self-development and how a person should mold himself or herself to be the ideal spouse. And we expanded on that in part 2 with regards to qualities of the ideal spouse, or rather living towards the ideal spouse. Now we've come to the stage where you've developed yourself and you found somebody that you perhaps might be interested in, okay? Or somebody that you have some form of a desire towards in terms of legal Islamic relationship by means of Nikkah, by means of this beautiful concept which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has coined for us. Okay, so just a little teaser, right? The bold and the beautiful, okay? Now you found this person that you may be interested in let's say 25 years of age, for example, right? And you've got all these wonderful emotions which you share inside yourself. You perhaps tell your best friend, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before you sleep at night, is this the person, etc. So all these thoughts run through you. And you've built this interest based on the other person because of his or her good qualities, and knowing that he or she is a good person and a possible suitor to your life. Okay, so these are thoughts that are in your mind. Now naturally, as part of your so-called internal research, you'd be asking your friends about this person. You'd be asking, or you might know them because of their family, etc. Right? And all the more it builds a further interest inside. But all this interest, the problem is all this interest is contained within you, right? It's in there, it's bubbling in there. In order for you to express this interest to the most important people that you find yourself living with, you have to take the bold step. Okay? Right. So perhaps our brother can tell us, when would you say is the bold time or the bold step that you can take towards expressing this interest? But before that, let us first ask you, who are the most important people that you should express this interest to? You have an interest for somebody, you express a like towards somebody. Now, all these thoughts and this desire is building for that person in you. It's contained in you. Right? Now you have to take it and unleash it. You have to take it and express it to somebody else. Who would be the most important people for that? Your best friend? Okay, but why your best friend? Okay, so your best friend because he knows you. He knows more about you. He knows more about the naughty side of me that my parents don't know, for example. Right? I'm putting this into a practical context. And therefore it's generally the first person you'd approach is your best friend. Okay? And then after a while you discuss, and then you tell your best friend to stalk on behalf of you and things like that. And then now it's time to tell your parents. Okay? Right, so how do you go about doing that? How do you go about doing that? Firstly, is there any specific way? No. But you know what I find extremely interesting? Is the fact that when it comes to everything in life, we always ask our parents very directly, generally, right? Need money? Dad, you know what, things are bad, it's student life, etc., and dad knows what you mean. He tops you up with a 200 or 300 rand and off you go. Okay? But this is one thing that generally most youth find it very difficult to express to their parents. Would you agree? Okay? So what is the best way to combat that? The best way to combat that? My brother on the top, can you tell me?
I think my approach would be a tad manipulative.
Okay, I see what you're saying. And I like those words, my approach would be. Every one of us sitting here has a different relationship to our parents, right? Some of us have a relationship where our parents are our best friends, okay? So the first person, if I like somebody, the first person I'll tell is my mom, for example. Right, mom, you know what, this girl, right? Some of us have a more respectful relationship with our parents, where our parents are like our icons, they are like our idols, in terms of who we emulate and who we learn from, right? And we don't go up to them, hey dad, you know what, check this girl today. You know, she was all beautiful and she was full of hijab and beautiful character, and what you think. On that note, subhanAllah, there was a female doctor once, right, recently posted up as one of her Facebook statuses with regards to somebody who, a parent, a father, right, who Facebook messaged her to ask if she's single so that she can marry his son, who is 15 years younger than her. Wow, right? Ingenious, okay? Facebook message, not even through the phone call and the imagine a dad doing that. And she was so chuffed about it, she actually wrote a whole lengthy Facebook status about it. Right? So, I don't know if it's cute or not, I'll leave that to you to decide. But what I'm saying is, generally, right? The first contact that you come across in terms of expressing who you like is your parents. Okay? Generally. Why? Because they're the people who brought you up. They're the ones who were involved in some form of relationship so that you can be sitting here. Right? So they know what life is all about. They've got the experience galore. Okay? And furthermore, it's actually because it's from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to seek advice and counsel from our beloved parents in everything important that we do in our lives. Okay. The problem comes about when a person is not bold. He's most beautiful. He's got everything on the inside. He's got everything ready. Right? But he's not bold. So what happens? He procrastinates. I can't tell my father today. I can't tell my mom today. It goes on for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years. And what's the repercussion of that? The negative consequence is the more time you give yourself to, halal, drink something which is loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is nikah, that gap that you have in between, right, opens the doors to haram. Okay? So you will have all these emotions about this person that you express interest to sitting on the inside. Or what is she doing? What might she be? Like a typical curious goosebump kind of feeling. Why? Because there's interest there. There's something about, there's a spark that's lit. Right? And the more you give it time, I'll tell my dad tomorrow, I'll tell my dad the day after, etc. She's not going to sit at you, but maybe you should just message her. Okay? Maybe you should just ask her how's the day. Maybe you should just ask her if, I could meet you in campus, or meet you at the park, or meet you at McDonald's. Right? So it opens endless possibilities of harm. Okay? So the best way to combat that, this procrastination or, telling your parents about this interest you have for someone, I promise you, the best way to do it is to be direct and straightforward. In the most respectful manner, of course. Okay? Secondly, choose the most appropriate time. Not when dad comes home and his day has been a mess, the business deal didn't go well, and everybody's sitting on the table, he's got something to discuss, and now you're like, okay, Dad, you know what, I've got an interest. Right? Firstly, his mind, his heart, his attention is not with you totally. So you don't want to mention to him a very important, relationship of your life that you'd like to build at a time when your parents are not in the best of mental states in terms of the attention which they'll give you. Okay? So choose the ideal time. Sunday lunch perhaps, when everybody's relaxing and then you want to burst the bubble. Or alternatively, another way to combat it is to speak to somebody that's close to you, to speak to your parents on your behalf. If you really can't approach your father or your mom. So you get your older sibling, you get maybe your best friend who knows your mom or dad, and tell them, you know what, coming to the point, manipulate. Right? We all know how to do it in some way or the other. When you want something from our parents, we all do it in some way or the other. Manipulate them so that we get something out of them. Okay? In a good way. Some days, okay, maybe the Shiek would do dishes, right? And his mom sorts his food for the next whole week. Or whichever way you do it. But as long as the message gets through them in the most respectful way. Okay? So you've got that out of the equation. That's the general scenario. There are exceptions where people don't have parents. Who do you go to? Somebody who serves the role of a parent in your life. Right? Could be your aunt. Somebody who basically has the stature of being a parent. Senior in age, somebody with a lot of life experiences, somebody who's knowledgeable about the deen. These types of people you need to associate with and ask their advice. And they could also be perhaps your guardian in representing you to your future spouse. Okay? So, whichever way you do it, as long as the opposite party gets interest that, you know what, there's interest, things need to get going. Okay. I mentioned last time, and for those of us that were not here, it's very important, especially when it comes to marriage, relationships, things like that. If you intend to get married, if you have the means, the ability, the capabilities, right, to do it soon, and you'd like to do it soon, do it soon. If you perhaps know you are unable for some reason or the other, right, don't invest in it and lead yourself to your own heartbreak, personal emotional issues, things like that. So you know perhaps you're still studying, you know perhaps that you've got other commitments in life, right? So it's not your priority at this moment. But there's one exception to that. Who can tell me that exception? One exception to that. One major exception. And I see there's a lot of guys today, so maybe the guys can tell me. No exception. No idea. All of us have been built with desires, I hope, right? Okay? If a person fears that he's going to commit to haram, then it becomes preferable, or rather compulsory rather, not preferable, for him to engage in Nikkah. Okay? So, if you've got interest is shared, setting the date. When are both parties going to come and speak to each other and have a little samosa evening or a supper or something going on, just to share warmth and see how's the vibe like. Okay, so you set the date. Party 1 meets party 2, right? Boy gets to see the girl, ask her questions, her mahram is there. I'm giving you the ideal scenario, okay? The ideal scenario, it varies a lot, right? As long as whatever is done comes close to the Sharia as possible, right? You're fine, you're in good hands. If not, take a step back. Okay, so party 1 meets party 2, warmth is everything, and it's kind of the proposal in a way, don't you think? Because you get to know the girl in some way, you've already researched her before, so now you're getting to know the family, the extended, everything else, and you'd like to express interest, like formally. So why can't you do it in that moment? If you look at the general triad, proposal, engagement, nikah. So you have one time to set the date, then you have another time to have the engagement, and then you have another time to have the nikah. My opinion is, why can't the so-called engagement be at the time of the proposal? Maybe I'm speaking nonsense. But if you express somebody, right, I want to get married to you, isn't that like an engagement already? Or is engagement classified by rings? Or by, Facebook statuses? We're engaged now, soon to be married. Why the lengthy process? When nikah has to be absolutely simple. Right? The reason why this triad of proposal, then engagement, then nikah is a bit, I can't get the words now. I don't want to say something negative about it. It's customary, right? Lots of people do it in that fashion, in that way. But then again, there's a time lapse between each stage. And it opens the possibility of things breaking down at each stage. I've seen engagements that have broken off. Why? Because the time of the proposal to the time of the nikah was 2 years. Imagine, 2 years. It's torture. You're sitting every night at the back of your mind thinking that someday I'd love to, share a hug with this beautiful spouse of mine. 2 years you're going to be thinking all these things up. SubhanAllah. Therefore my advice, if you're not intending to get married soon and sort out everything soon, don't put it now, okay, 2 years now, then 3 years then, and then 4 years that. No. If you're intending to make nikah, go for it. Jugular or none. Okay. And then furthermore, right? So it's the proposal, the engagement, and the nikah. And I must say, I can actually stand for correction here. Let's look at the actual nikah itself. I'm not going to discuss what to do after nikah. Our lecture series was to do with up to the time of nikah, and nikah is done. You want to go further? There's enough marriage classes in the whole of Cape Town. You're more than welcome. Everywhere. DTI, different organizations have marriage classes. That's for, are you tied or not? What's next? Right? In terms of finance, in terms of the roles of the wife, the roles of the husband, etc., etc. So Khadija radiallahu anha, what was so unique about her? Okay, and this incident, this life story of Khadija radiallahu anha, her marriage dispels a lot of negativities of nikah that we have today as Muslims. First thing about Khadija radiallahu anha. How old was she when she got married? How old was she? Anybody? 40 years. How old was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? 25. Massive age gap, right? Today, she must be 2 years younger than me. Well, he must be 8 years older than me, right? So there's always, age is an absolute priority. Age is an absolute priority. Whereas, age should be a factor, but not the determining factor. Consider it as part of your choosing a spouse. Next, he must be financially equipped. 100% standing on his own feet. Realistic expectation. Absolutely realistic expectation. Right? But is money the be-all and end-all? No. Why? Today you have it, tomorrow it's gone. Okay? So yes, he must be in the position to provide for you according to your necessities, what you need as a female. Let's analyze that quickly. Whose responsibility is that of the house? To provide for the house? The man. Allah has entrusted that role, that responsibility to him. So in terms of providing for his wife, according to her necessities, his children, it's his job. He's the man. Man meaning provides. Okay? That's his role. So, let's put that into context today. Right? Put that into context today. Many cases, man is working, woman is working. Why? not making ends meet. We understand. But if somebody had to take the brunt for that, it would be the man. It's his responsibility. Somebody has to take accountability for that. It's only the kindness of his wife, right? The kindness of his wife, that his wife tells him, you know what, I know that you're struggling, I'd like to help you. It's not her responsibility at all. Financially, no. Okay? Another thing, applicable to students. Okay? Khadija radiallahu anha, coming back to that example, apart from the many things that you'll know already, who was she in terms of her profession? A businesswoman, right? Influential, wealthy. Somebody who had the gift of the gab, could bring in loads of goods to Mecca. Prophet ﷺ at that time was still coming, he was still working, right? When the proposal was sent to him, Muhammad ﷺ, for Khadija, you know what? This is this person, right? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, okay, that I'm under financial constraint. And he was still up and coming at that time, right? But that wasn't the issue. He still accepted the proposal, right? And their means of compatibility was more towards what the heart had. She looked to the heart of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah has blessed the most beloved of all creation. Why should I neglect that? That was the overriding factor, right? And she contributed for him financially. Okay? But he also would work for his wife. Work for his wife and at the same time, carry out her business ventures, etc. So there is, what I'm trying to get at is, there is a form of mutual agreement that can be worked out in terms of finance. Furthermore, dating a stepping stone to marriage. Now,
just while you're on the point of finance,
yes.
What has Islam said according to two separate incomes?
Two separate incomes.
Yeah. The wife and the husband, they're married,
yes.
but they are basically earning separate incomes and keeping them for themselves.
Okay, so the people, every question is what Islam says about man and woman, separate incomes, right? It's based on logic. What is yours is yours. What is mine is mine. I worked for it. I deserve it, right? My sweat, my blood, I get it. Okay? If perhaps you have an agreement to expend 50 to your wife because you married under South African law, for example, right? Then that's your thing. You agreed to it. Sharia told you what's yours is yours. Right? If you want to agree 50-50, your thing. Okay? If you want to give more than that, because you're such a loving husband, by all means, you'll get food 3 times a day, brother. Okay, maybe 6 times a day too, Allah knows. Okay, right. Let's continue. The slide up, right, is self-explanatory. There are many things. I want you to look at the comparison between the left and the right. Okay? One thing that stands out for me. Dating, I've mentioned the last lectures, not an option. Yes, no, none. Those are 3 options. Yes or no or none. Okay? And then, when it comes to cultural norms, cultural identities, people who have different ideas of marriage. So it's a lot of cultural baggage and jargon that influences marriage. In South Africa, we have different cultures. Indian culture, Cape Malay culture, Zulu culture, Xhosa, everybody has something unique, right? But there's one principle, in terms of anything that's cultural and Islamic, one principle, okay? Anything that is cultural, that falls within the boundaries of Islam is acceptable. Okay, and I'll give you examples now. Anything that is cultural and does not fall within the boundary of Islam is not acceptable. In terms of weddings. Culture, I'll speak of Indian culture, right? Out there, because it's out there. Indian culture is extravagant. Extravaganza. Right? So you have the proposal, which cost 50 odd grand, engagement which cost 100 odd grand, the actual wedding which cost $1 million. The wedding runs through 7 days, 8 days. Each day is a different outfit, a different type of clothing going on, etc. Now, all of this extravagance. Is there need for it? No, but it's cultural. It's cultural. And Islam advocates simplicity, absolute simplicity. And you think about it in terms of the economic crunch that we're living in today. Okay? So, all the money that could have been spent on building your home, going and enjoying yourselves honeymoon, going and refurbishing or buying yourself a vehicle if you need it for work. All that money that could have spent in a better, more productive way for yourself and your wife is spent on people. We'll complain about that after that. We'll gossip about that after that. And you're opening the doors for them to be jealous. And you know what's the irony? 3 months down the line, ooh, car broke, so people's hustle is on me. Really? You gave them the room to do so. When you get backlash, so who is to blame? Yourself. Okay? So that's just one example. I'll give you an example of where culture falls within the boundary of Islam. Right? Coming back to Indian culture. Indians have a thing for food. Okay? It's like food, food and food. That's their thing. Right? But it doesn't go against Islam. Obviously, if I take halal chicken, halal meat, and I cook a curry, an Indian curry, right? It's halal chicken, the halal component is there, right? It's Indian flavored. It doesn't fall against the boundary of Islam. Okay? So the point is, anything that falls within the boundary of Islam is permissible. Anything out of, not permissible. Okay? Now you can take that principle and apply it to everything in your life. Prophet lived simply. I'm building a 7-story house, I only need 1 bedroom. Right? You apply the principle, get out of jail card. Every scenario in your life. Look at your own culture. Islam says, man has to provide. I'm sitting at home. My wife is slaving at work. Is this right of me? No. That's my culture. Right? That's my way of thinking. I'm going to sit at home, my wife must work. And I've seen this in a couple. Wallahi, I've seen this in a couple. Where the wife is the husband and the husband is the wife. Ajib. The husband does everything in the home. Cooking, cleaning, washing dishes, making the beds, sweeping, seeing to the kids. Everything in the home the husband does. The only thing the wife does, work, earns money, back home and done. In fact, it went to such an extent where she didn't even spend time with her own kids. Right? So mixed roles, mixed responsibilities. Islam has given us the platform, we just need to use it. Let's move on. Okay. Fairy tale wedding. We all agree, wedding is a sunnah, it's a beautiful thing. We try the best, to look our best, to be the best, to make preparations, okay? But there isn't anything as a fairy tale. Fairy tale is what it is, it's a fairy tale. Right? Nikkah is it's an act to legalize a relationship from one person to another. Right? So the amount that you put into it, the amount, let's say this again, the amount that you invest in this act only doesn't reflect, you'll have goodness for the rest of your life. So if you invest 5 million in making the Nikkah, doesn't mean your life thereafter will be worth just 5 million. It can be worth nothing. Why? Because you'll have all the money in the world, you won't have contentment. You can invest 10,000 in your Nikkah, but you'll have a life worth billions. Or worth something which money cannot define. You'll have contentment. Right, guys? These are things just to ponder about. Let's move on. Okay. The final slide before we start taking questions. To recap, we've discussed you looking at your spouse, time to seal the deal. Okay? If you are unable to get married, you are not in the position to, right? Or you are, whichever way, the biggest factor in your life, the biggest factor in your universe is Allah Rabbul Izzah. Okay? So if you want to venture into something in your life, anything, the first person to turn to is Allah. And I always tell people, speak to Allah as though Allah is your best friend. You know, oh Allah, I'm feeling for muchachos Gaspi later. Or anything and everything. You know, Allah sometimes, all the time, sits and asks, when is my servant going to ask of me? When he's going to ask of me? He's asking everybody in this dunya. He's asking his profession. He's asking his friends, his family. When is he going to ask me? When is he going to ask me? So turn to Allah. Okay? That warm shoulder, that warm hug is not going to come to you by your future to be, or your previous ex, or your current girlfriend or boyfriend. That warmth will come to you from your obedience to Allah. Right? An example. The whole year, for example, I'm a lazy person. Right? I don't wake up for my salah. But one day I do. The one day I do. That day perhaps, everything falls in my way. Everything goes according to plan. Everything just fits in. You feel good about yourself. Right? Because you've prioritized that person who has created you. He will prioritize the things that you have to do. That is Allah. Okay? So when you make Allah your priority, and another beautiful saying that I always remember from my teachers, when you turn to Allah, when you churn your efforts to Allah, Allah will churn the dunya at your feet. If you churn your feet to this dunya, you have no place for Allah in your life. Okay? So just keep that saying in mind and always think about it. Our whole idea for all these sessions is for you to think, reflect, right? And something that I personally reflect on daily, where am I? Or rather, where did I come from? Where am I today? And where am I headed to? 3 questions. When you sleep at night, before you make your dua, Allahumma bi ismika amutu wa ahya. Where did I come from? Where am I today? Where am I headed to? You think about these 3 things. Sometimes you probably sleep only after an hour. Okay? So think about it. Reflect. Think and reflect. That drives your heart drives your action drives consequence, consequence leads to either destruction or status. That's a general trend of people in life, right? Okay. So, for those of us that are in relationships, at the moment, that's the last thing we probably want to talk about. The choice is yours right now. Either you're in it to make nikah for Allah's sake, or you're out of it. You're out of it. There's no in between. Right? And I remember the Isuzu advert. Probably any of you seen it. Go big or go home. Go big, go home. So you go big on Allah, you go home. And you drown yourself in sin. You drown yourself in sorrow. I guarantee you, the more you invest in meaningless relationships, the more hurt you will get at the end of it all. Right? Why? Because Allah is not the third person in your relationship. So you're looking for trouble already. Okay? So if you're in an investment meaningful relationship, do it the right way. I promise you, wallahi, I take an oath on Allah. You will see, you will experience true goosebumps in terms of your relationship with her. Not something that words can explain, or your relationship with him. Why? Because everything has been through a halal certified channel. Okay? And these are the last two advices to any person, right? That once you're venturing into nikah, in marriage, or you're about to get married soon, etc. Dua, dua, dua. I always say, choice of the believer. Allah asks, when will you ask of me? When will you ask of me? Sometimes, common today's, after exams, what's the first thing you get to do? Catch up all your CDs, movies, soccer, play games, what, FIFA 17, I don't know, 16, I don't know what's out, Mortal Kombat or whatever it is, right? So you catch up with all of that. Have fun in a halal way. I'm not putting shackles on you for that. But keep this open, right? So even after you've done all of this, say, oh Allah, if what I've done is wrong, please forgive me. If what I've done is good, please keep me on the path. Anything that you do in life, right? Who knows, by means of you be playing video games, you could be the next computer engineer, and to program a software that kills all the Islamic extremists in this dunya. Who knows? Right? So never ever underestimate your relationship with Allah. Never. The other day I was telling a friend of mine, I was in my mid-sleep just before subuh, before the morning prayer. I'm thinking to myself, I just wish I had fish today. Just a deep yearning for fish, grilled fish. I come home after campus, I see grilled fish in front of me. I say, oh Allah. That's all. Just that feeling of gratefulness is sufficient thanks to Allah. Feeling, oh Allah. Meaning from there. Right? Obviously I began to regret why I didn't ask Allah for many things. Maybe PS5 or what's the latest on the
PS4.
PS4. It's a bit old, man. I've heard of that a while now. Okay, but never mind. It's okay, it does the job, right? So turn to Allah. Turn to Allah. Through everything. In your own unique way. Okay? And the last thing. Idle mind is the devil's workshop. I've mentioned this previously. If you've got nothing to do, grab a friend. Grab the Shiek and go to the Shrikas. What's the place of the restaurant somewhere? The Shrikas, right? So grab the Shiek and go to the Shrikas. I'm talking about the restaurant now. Okay? Oh, have some fun. Go hiking. Go to the beach. Obviously within Islamic boundaries now. Don't forget my first part and second part of lectures and now you having halal fun, etc. No. Within Islamic boundaries. Have something meaningful, right? But don't keep your mind idle. And which is the biggest devil that we have today, in my opinion? Anybody knows? Did I mention? I don't know if I mentioned this before. The biggest devil that we have. There we go. You can put it higher. This fellow here, this bugger here. Biggest devil. If you have no need for it, throw it away. Keep it away one side. You'll be doing yourself a favor. One stage in our lives, this was a convenience. Wallahi, nowadays it has become an inconvenience. Especially to what's inside there, our hearts. Everything is virtual. You hug virtually, you kiss virtually, you ask for proposals virtually, everything is done virtually. Huh? Who knows, in 15 or 20 years from now, they probably might even make children virtually too. Allah don't let it reach to that stage, that negative stage. Okay, so let's hope inshallah that our sessions provided a little meaningful form of reflection for us, right? And certain principles that we can use in our lives, right? There's no need for me to discuss in detail. I give you principles, you apply it in your life. These principles are based on Quran and Sunnah. One thing though, I did forget to mention, reflecting back, with regards to getting married as a student, right? We think about that a lot, okay? It's easier for the women folk to express interest because they know that the husband has to provide, okay? It's easier for them. Whereas on the man's side, it's a bit more difficult because he has to provide and he's still a student. So, in today's times, the world that we're living in, I actually encourage our parents, especially those that Allah has blessed with wealth, right, to see off our youth, let them engage in nikah, provided that they have the right mind frame, sense of maturity, and take care of their financial needs until they are such time where they're able to fend for themselves. Okay? If maybe our parents don't do it for us today, you as a parent should do it for your child one day. Your child comes home, tells you, Daddy, I've got an interest in this girl, he's a second year varsity student. Tell him, you know what, son, I've invested in many things in you, I've invested to get you, I've invested in education, now I'm also going to invest in you getting married. And I want you to commit sin. So let us do it, inshallah. I'll stand as a guarantor to see that her financial needs are seen to. Alternatively, it can work from either side, right? Like I said, mutual agreement. Islamic principle is based on mashwara, right? So everything in a relationship is based on mutual consultation and a decision taken thereof. So you are with your wife, nothing is in agreement per se. That is only for state purposes, that you get married in community of property, blah blah blah. But mutual agreement. Okay, my dear wife, I'd love to have chicken curry today. Stupid example. Would you perhaps like to have the same? Okay, fine. Right, so we can decide on that. I'd like to have something else. Then that's where your heart comes into the picture. Are you ready to compromise? Maybe, maybe not. If you can afford it, alhamdulillah, you can have both. Right? Keep the peace. Both have your things. Oh, sure, there's a lot of things I'm reflecting on now. Another thing that we need to reflect on quickly. Every person goes into a relationship with expectations. Of nikah, that is. My husband has to be this, my wife has to be that. Nobody goes into a relationship wanting to compromise. And that's where all the problems are. If you are not ready to go into a nikah at some compromise of your own, you'll have lots and lots of problems. So your relationship, yes, you have expectations, but the compromises, your compromise should be the overriding factor. Imagine a husband comes into his relationship, says, you know, I'm going to compromise my likes for her. Not having expectations. A wife comes into that. They'll in fact be arguing about whose likes to have, rather than I should have my like or I should have his like. Example again, husband and wife. I want chicken curry. Wife says, maybe I want mutton curry. But no, we'll have chicken curry. Husband says, no, we'll have mutton curry. Right? It's a little feud, a little argument, but indirectly it's building more muhabba. Because both of them come into a marriage willing to compromise, not expectation of the other. Okay? Then again, people take this principle of mine to another extreme. Like, okay, one person goes into full compromise, the other one is just a bare recipient. Oh, mashallah, she's making chicken curry for me, she's doing this for me, doing that for me, but I have no cooking clue what's her favorite food. Fine, now that's totally wrong. Okay? So go into a relationship expecting a compromise, but don't expect everything else. There's definitely going to be compromises that you make in your marital relationship. That's how it is. Okay? And on that note, I also know of a couple, right? I don't know, women have this thing in bathrooms. Somehow they manage to use campus bathrooms, but at home then it becomes a big issue. This is my bathroom, that is her bathroom, this is her bathroom. Her own husband. He's got his own bathroom, she's got her own bathroom. What reason? Let me ask you, why do you think so? What reason? Come. They prefer their own toilet, nobody else to sit on there. Reasonable, but in this case, the case that I'm referring to, because the woman has a layout of the type of soaps that she uses, the types of bath oils and things like that, and because the husband is not a, how can I say, a particular person about neatness. So she doesn't like that this soap is put there, this towel is put that side, that towel is gone that side. So therefore he must have his own bathroom and I have my own bathroom. How do you like that? Wallahi, this is the times we are living in, my brothers and sisters. Ajib, amazing. And we spoke about previously how our upbringing affects our futures in terms of our marital relationships, in terms of our own kids that grow up. So if you have mindset similar to this, take a step back to reflect. Reflect, ponder, and go forth with the expectation to compromise. And inshallah, you'll have a meaningful, I don't want to say completely blissful, because there's always going to be arguments and stuff like that, but when you go to marriage classes, you can listen to some of the experiences there. Okay? So, with that, a few reflections of mine. A few advices throughout the series, the first, the second, the third. I know some of us are not here to be there all the time, but I hope inshallah that it was enlightening and meaningful in some respect. Now for the final slide, inshallah, maybe we can take any questions with regards to premarital relations, the harms, the consequences, approach to the proposal, getting married, anything that you're unclear about in terms of Islamic principles that you'd like to ask. Inshallah, we can take a few questions. Anything that's sitting on your mind? Yes?
Say you're in a position where you can't really afford to be like married and living in your own home and things like that.
Right.
It's permissible to be married to someone, but you're still living in your paternal home where she lives with her parents and you live with your parents. So
That's, I always think Hitler's torture was bad. This is on another level. You're married, but you can't have, and unfortunately, it's, for many people, they do not have the ability to stay next to each other. Some people are forced and some people by choice. People are forced, for example, I know a case in Bangladesh, when migrant laborers go to Saudi Arabia and different, they see their, families, sometimes after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and they provide monthly for their families to live themselves in those poorer areas. Another case, and just reflecting back now, Hajj, where this one person from Bangladesh working as a tailor in Saudi Arabia for 30 years, right? And he met with his wife after 30 years in Hajj, right? He paid for her Hajj expenses. Speak of romance, guys. Nothing comes close to this Juliet. Or Romeo, sorry. Romeo, Juliet, This is basically describing the height of love. So he pays for expenses during Hajj, 30 years. He meets her after 30 years, right? And he gets to hug her. He sees his children, right? They go for Hajj and everything. And Allah knows best, she passes away in the stampede. Right? The Mina stampede that happened. Okay? So some people are forced. But now in a student's case, and this is I'm glad you asked this question. So it is common, not so much, maybe in Saudi Arabia a bit more, Arab countries, but South Africa not too much, and I think it has some good to it. Maybe a lot actually. Where, like I said, you as a parent, if you can afford to see to the relationship of your daughter and your son, right? And basically, both parties come together. Parents on one side They say, you know what, the other thing, why you brought this question to mind. A wife can make this clause at the time of nikah to her husband that I absolve you of any financial rights that you owe to me for as long as you are studying or you are able to. Right? So the wife makes this clause and it makes it easier upon the husband because he doesn't have to provide for her. But the parents of both sides are involved, right? The female says, you know, their parents say, no, it's fine, she can stay with us till you can stay by your family, you know, you can go out together, you can do, if you want, you can do a sleep over here, maybe 1 week, or you can do a sleep over there, you know, for 1 week, and you'll have a form of arrangement like that. No holding back. Okay? So, however you can work around it, at the same time where she is willing to, you know, say, you know what, I absolve you, right? If she doesn't, then you need problems. Big problems. Then you need to invest in 2 credit cards. No, I'm kidding. Right? If she doesn't, then it's not going to work out. But it has to come from her side. I absolve you for as long as the time you study. And obviously her parents know and they stand as guarantor to see to her. Your parents stand as guarantor to see to her needs, etc. And alhamdulillah. And I know in Tiger campus, our campus, student in first year got married like that. MashaAllah, he's second year now, he's doing his stuff. Normal. So if you are able to, and there's willingness on both sides, why not? Why not? Right? And if you want to do 1 week here, 1 week there, 1 month here, 1 month there, by all means. But you must take into consideration your siblings as well, or people that are living in the home. Right? Especially you know, in times of sleepovers and times of when you want to get together and things like that. Because sometimes what happens is you get married, your brother is maybe 2 years younger than you, right? And your wife is staying in the same home. It can cause problems, right? Problems not because you're not newly married, so your wife is still attractive, and still attractive. She always is till the day you die. In Jannah, and much more, right? Just to clarify that. But when I mean still attractive, I mean like, you know, they're still beautiful, there's still things going on, and then it's very easy. Shaitan is like this. As when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned, brother-in-law is like that. Why? Easily grab you. Husband is at work, brother-in-law comes home, you know, for him is, okay, he's welcomed the new addition to his family, but he doesn't have the closeness to her yet. She's somebody from the outside. Right? So Shaitan can let loose at any time. We speak about brother-in-law versus the wife. I've heard of cases where it's what you call mother and son-in-law. It is. But I mean, the women that are in the 60s want to look like they're 15. Okay, I don't blame them for that, but you know what I mean? So there are cases like that. So if you want to take that route, weigh out your options. Weigh out your options and see what's best. Look, the first thing you need to decide, yes or no. If I'm going to this, yes. Now you work around with the core variables. X, Y, Z, you know, how to plan, how to this, and protect the interest of yourself, your modesty, the modesty of your spouses. Inshallah. Okay, I hope that answers the question in some light. Okay, anybody else? Any question that's tickling your mind? Another one, go for it.
I think you mentioned earlier on that marriage in community property, that's mostly just on the state's behalf. So
right.
In the Islamic legal system, does marriage out of community property or any of that anti-nuptial kind of things apply?
Look, marriage according to the Sharia versus marriage according to Western law, right? If you have evidence with your wife, you sign a written contract with your wife to say, you know what, our mutual contract is the Sharia, right? Our main contract is the Sharia, but for purposes of legality, we using the Western law, although that's not applicable in our lives, right? So you sign, she signs, witnesses are there, alhamdulillah, you got it sorted out. So basically you got the Sharia as the main thing. So if you pass away, your estate is divided according to the Sharia, etc. However, let's say you got married in community of property or anti-nuptial, however it works. Okay, you yourself, the wife, etc., and things are going good. One day it dips. She wants a divorce. So legally, she can claim divorce from you, right? She can go to the court, lawyers, etc. Islamically, she's still your wife because you haven't given her divorce. Okay? So what I'm saying is, the Islamic side of things overpowers the Western side at any given time. For you to register your marriage, like I said, that immediate act of Nikkah where there was ijab, there was presentation, there was acceptance from this side, right? The husband said, I'm going to marry you. She said, yes, okay, I'm willing to get married. Witnesses there, Nikkah takes place. Whether you sign it in community of property or anti-nuptial or not, doesn't matter. But because you want the state to recognize you, therefore you're just using that as a means. Which at the same time also means, if things go at a dip, you can't use that to get away. Especially when there's gain for you. So if you're a husband, or you're a wife, right? You've earned 500 million, for example, right? And things don't go bad, but you marry in community of property, means 50-50. So if the husband divorces you, the husband can't tell his wife, oh, hey, you know what, your community of property state says you have to give me 250 million. Islamically, that's halal. Okay? So the Islamic system overrides Western system all the time. Does that clarify it a bit?
Okay, yeah, but that just raises a subsequent question.
A subsequent question, yeah?
So even if you guys get divorced within a Western sense,
Right.
Islamically she's still your wife.
She's still your wife.
So that
Until you physically tell her, I divorce you.
That sounds like it might be an oversight in a lot of situations.
An oversight in look, it depends also on the circumstance of divorce. Right? The Nikkah is easy to make, divorce is a more complicated scenario. But for example, if the divorce if the husband refuses to give divorce and he knows he is an unjust person, then it's haram for him. He can't do that. Right? And the Muslim council has the ability to annul that marriage. So legally, Islamically, legally, she is divorced. Right? Even though the husband, he basically, what the Islamic court does is take the authority from him to give divorce. They have the right to do so if the husband is unjust. For example, he's abusing his wife. Or he's making her, abuse is the most common thing, right? And she can't stand it anymore, she's sabr, asks for a divorce, husband says no. She has evidence, physical marks, things like that, goes to the Qadi, the Islamic court, the Muslim Judicial Council, they say, okay, you know what, you have sufficient proof, divorce granted. So Islamically, she's not entitled to him anymore. She can be her own way, she can protect herself against him. And she can now see him as not her husband anymore, he's a stranger. Okay? He's a stranger. If he comes to attack her, she has to do anything to prevent that from happening. Okay? So that's the exception. But generally, Western influence, nothing. Okay, I'm giving you a bit more detailed jumps in between, but you get the understanding. Okay, khair, inshallah. Any other questions? All clear, all explained, I hope so, inshallah, in a very simple advice-like manner. Inshallah, but if you do, you can always send me an email and I'll try to respond as soon as possible. And inshallah, if you have any other comments or feedback or ways that you'd like to see this type of Nikkah thing more practical, then also send me, inshallah, send me an email, then we'll try and incorporate it. Perhaps maybe make it into a social event or instead of just a workshop, so you can get more opinions from different people or more diverse type of understanding more cultures, Nikkah, things like that. So it's more exciting times. This was just a prelude for myself. First time I'm actually doing a series of Nikkah workshop. My whole idea was to take current day things, misconceptions, current day understandings, and tweak them a bit to the more correct Islamic understanding. Okay? And to leave you with advice so that you can think about the correct understanding and act on it, reflect on it in reality, inshallah. Okay then, from myself, Muhammad Shiek, say Jazakallah khair, ahsanul jazak to all of you for attending and for listening, inshallah. And like I said, if you have any comments, feedback, please do email me. الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك وصلى الله على النبي الأمي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Yo Muslim
Marty.